Most e-com brands are looking at the completely wrong number and think profitability is mostly an ads problem. They look at ROAS, CPM, CAC and all these metrics, and then there's a small percentage of them that actually understand how cash moves inside of an e-commerce business, and that profitability is not found inside of a few metrics, but rather it comes from the full system, looking at the cash flow, unit economics, margins, retentions, product mix, and how much money the business actually keeps after the sale, and how all of this is connected directly into paid media. And in this video I'm going to walk through every financial system you have to use, the forecasting, the hierarchy of metrics, and how exactly you can use all of this to your advantage to optimize on profit. And so if you don't know me, I'm the CEO of Gabbas Consulting. We manage over $500,000 in ad spend, and every day we help 6 to 7 figure brands only optimize on profitability. The ad account is only one layer and profitability starts way above it. So as you can see here, profitability starts at the top of business and not inside of the Meta Ads Manager. And this is what we call the hierarchy of metrics. So it's ranked from the most important metric to the least important metric regarding your CM3, so your profitability. And so at the very top, the most important thing is cash flow. Under cash flow sit business metrics like net revenue, total ad spend, MER, and AOV, right? And so under that sit customer metrics like new customers, customer acquisition cost, and retention. And after that, the least important metrics are channel metrics. These are things like ROAS, CPM, and so on and so forth. So everything that you see in your ads manager. And so the lower the metric is on the hierarchy, the faster it moves. The higher the metric in the hierarchy is, the closer it gets to the real health of the business. So the health stage of your business can be seen at the top of the hierarchies. These are things like your cash flow and everything at the top, because your ROAS can move every day, your CPM can move every hour, but your cash flow sits on top and shows you whether your business is profitable or not. And so this is why we treat cash flow as the North Star with every brand we manage. However, in marketing, pure cash flow is hard to optimize directly. So the closest operating metric to this is CM3. CM3 means contribution margin free, and in simple terms, it's profit before fixed costs. So CM3 shows how much profit your marketing creates before rent, salaries, software, finance costs, and other fixed expenses, right? But what you have to understand about CM3 is that you can have a strong ROAS, but a weak CM3, while there are other brands that have a lower ROAS, like 1.2, 1.3, and a stronger CM3. And so we have brands that optimize on a 1.4 return on ad spend and are more profitable than brands that have a 1.8 return on ad spend. And what we do with these brands is to build a reporting system. So ads are solely judged by contribution to profit and not attributed revenue. So we only focus on the contribution to profit. And how you have to read the ads manager and every metric in general is that the ad account tells you how campaigns behave, but the business numbers tell you whether the behaviors you've read in the ad accounts manager actually matter or not. And so once you understand that hierarchy of metrics, you realize that ROAS is useful, but it becomes dangerous when you treat it like real profit. And so what I'm showing you right now is ROAS obviously is revenue divided by ad spend, but it's solely a control metric and not a profit metric. So it only shows you the revenue the platform gave you for the money spent. And that sounds good if you see like a 4.0 return on ad spend, but it leaves out the real business context in our store. It doesn't include product margins, fulfillment costs, payment fees, discounts, returns, and the most important thing is it doesn't tell you whether the order came from a new customer or a returning customer. And so essentially what everyone has to understand is that we try to get the returning customers to pay for our fixed costs so we can spend more on acquisition for new customers, right? And this is something you don't see in your ROAS. It also doesn't show you how much money reaches your bank account. And so like most of you know, a high ROAS looks great in the ad account, but it doesn't mean high profit. And so at the end you can have a 5 ROAS but leave with 185,000 in profit. And so every owner who is a bit further in their stage should understand that ROAS comes less and less important when you start to understand the real engine and systems, and the systems that are behind your profitability, your unit economics. And so your unit economics eventually decide if you can even scale or not. Real quick, if you're not where you want to be with your store yet, I put together 2 free strategies that you can grab right now. I made them because I worked with a lot of e-com brands, and it taught me one thing, that every problem looks different at every stage. So I split it into 2 stages. One is for profit issues and the other one is for creatives and the low ROAS. Both are personalized to your situation. It's no generic template made with ChatGPT or whatever. So pick yours. It's the first link in the description, and let's get back to the video. Unit economics are the financial structure of one order or one customer. And this is the math that decides how aggressive you can be in your ads manager, how aggressive you can be in your marketing. It starts with your AOV, and then you subtract all the things like product cost, shipping, fulfillment, payment fees, discounts, returns and refunds, marketing costs, and at the end you see contribution. And that contribution is the real room you have to acquire customers. So that's why a brand with strong unit economics can afford a higher customer acquisition cost. Maybe you up your average order value and you cross-sell or post-purchase upsell. So after they bought your product, you sell them another thing since they've already added their credit card. And so brands with weak unit economics need a low customer acquisition cost just to survive and go break even. And this is why big brands, because they have better margins, because they can place bigger bulk orders, can optimize on a low return on ad spend and still be break even. Also because they optimize on returning customers, right? They have like a list of 1 million people every day who go into their store and buy their product, and so they can kind of strategize around that. But even with smaller brands, competitors with better margins will outspend you eventually and completely dominate you in the market because they have more room to make mistakes, they can buy more data, have more creative testing, and they can tolerate higher CPMs and worse metrics than you. And so this document right here makes this point very clear, right? Better margin structures open completely different possibilities in meta ads or in any other marketing channel. For example, if your AOV is too low, you have to perform way better on your customer acquisition cost. And if you get multiple returns because your product is just bad and doesn't deliver, your ROAS target becomes completely fake because you can't optimize suddenly on it because you see all these returns coming in, all these complaints, and suddenly you're in a negative cash flow. And so this is why profitability is built before you launch your next ad campaign. Before you launch the next ad, you have to make math and you have to calculate all of this. The ad account, the campaign will only expose if your math was good or bad. It's all just statistics and data and numbers at the end of the day. And so once unit economics are clear, the next metric becomes way clearer for you. And this is customer acquisition cost. But CAC has to be calculated properly because most people do this mistake and mess it completely up. And so what you have to understand is that customer acquisition cost doesn't equal CPA, cost per acquisition. Customer acquisition cost is the real cost to acquire a new customer. But cost per acquisition is the platform's attributed cost per purchase. So what you see on your ads manager solely. And those two numbers are not the same because CAC should be calculated from the business level. So if, for example, you spent $50,000 and acquired 1,000 new customers, your CAC is now $50. And this is way more cleaner than platform CPA because it uses your actual business data. A $100 CAC can be amazing if the first purchase creates $300 gross profit, for example. But a $20 CAC can be terrible if the first purchase creates $10 gross profit. And so the pairing metric you have to do with your CAC is gross profit, and not just gross profit in general over their whole lifetime, but on the first purchase. And so that means you need to know how much profit the average new customer order creates after the product costs, fulfillment, payment fees, and everything else, right? And so the AOV can mislead you a bit here, because what we've seen with multiple brands we consult is that returning customers often have a higher average order value because they already made the first order, they are familiar with your product, they have trust in your brand, and they are way more likely to spend more money with your store. And so returning customers can make the blended numbers look healthier than new customer economics really are. You have to make a difference between new customer gross profit and returning customers. And so you need to know your new customer AOV and new customer gross profit, and then you can set a real CAC target. Because the correct question is not, what is a good CAC for my store? The correct question is, how much can we actually spend to acquire that new customer while still hitting our contribution target we have in our store? And so when you start to separate new customers and returning customers is where you finally enter the real game a bit, right? This is where most people start seeing the real truth with the store, and this is a very important topic. New customers cost money to acquire, and that is clear to everyone at this point. But returning customers come back because of product experience, brand, CRM, the retention, and the habit maybe that they have on buying things on your store. So you have to create a beautiful experience with your product when they get it for the first time, that they come back for more. That is the whole goal we had on why we spent money on them in the first place. So this means that returning customer revenue carries way more profit contribution than from new customers, because we don't have to spend as much money on them to acquire them to buy a second time than on new customers. And so we have this metric right here, our total revenue. That is the revenue from new customers and returning customers combined. And then we split this into the marketing efficiency ratio. So our total revenue divided by our ad spend. This is our marketing efficiency ratio. But this is somehow manipulated. And why? Because this also includes the returning customer revenue. This can look strong at first, but if you get down this rabbit hole of only looking at the MER, you will be in a loophole of wondering where your money went in the bank account. And so this is why we have the AMER. And this strips it down to purely acquisition efficiency. AMR means new customer revenue divided by ad spend. And this is much more useful when you want to judge your paid acquisition. So how profitable are you acquiring new customers? If the MER looks good, but AMR is weak, your brand is living off purely the existing customer base. And this is something you have to change immediately. Because if new customer acquisition slows down, your future cash flow can and probably will weaken, even if today's total revenue looks fine. And this is because you can't acquire new customers efficient enough. And so these returning customers can hide your weak acquisitions. So you have to separate the two, or you can't see the truth of your finances in your store. And so when you finally separated these two metrics correctly, the next mistake is letting platforms decide which product deserves your budget. And so for this, I brought this example right here. The platform optimizes for the goal you give it. And if the goal is purchases, it will often prioritize the product that gets the cheapest purchases, right? Because as I already said in one of my videos, we are clients of Facebook. And the consumers of Facebook and Instagram are products to us because we acquire their attention, right? And so Meta obviously wants you to get the best results possible so you can keep spending money and throwing money at Zuckerberg. Problem is that the cheapest purchases don't always mean the best profit for your store, because one product can have a low CPA and weak contribution, while on the other hand a product can have a higher CPA but a much stronger contribution. And so the problem is that Meta pushes spend towards the easier product because you obviously get better results from it, but it doesn't care about the finances of your business. Your store may need spend pushed towards the more profitable product. And this is where product level economics become very, very important. And so essentially every single product should have its own economics, right? Different AOV, margins, return rate, CAC, and contribution margin, CM3. And so if you have product A here where you get a high ROAS and low contribution, product B with a lower ROAS but a higher CM3, and product C with high returns but a very weak cash flow, you should take a look at the margins, compare them, and actually find out which product you have to spend more money on marketing on and push your budget towards it. So in this case, the CM3 for this product is the best. And so you notice here we have a higher CAC and here we have a lower CAC, but still the CM3 is here the best. And so your budget should follow only the CM3 and not the CAC or the return on ad, because you are no longer asking which product gets my best ROAS, which product looks the best in the Meta ads campaign. Suddenly you are asking which product creates the strongest CM3, cash flow, and value for my business. You want to sell through inventory at the highest contribution margin possibly, and that sometimes means pushing a product with worse platform CPA simply because it creates a better profit for your store. And if you have the decision between profit and more sales, which one would you choose? Obviously profit and then more sales, right? But this is a completely different topic. And so profitability is not just campaign level optimization, it's also a product mix optimization. So you have to understand your product economics, very crucial. And so once you understand your product economics, customers, CAC, you can finally plan your marketing instead of reacting to the numbers from the last campaign. And so this is where my favorite thing comes into play, forecasting. Forecasting is where marketing becomes management, right? And the point of this document is simple. You have to plan your marketing before you're spending so that your store optimizes for profit instead of just fancy numbers on the screen. And a good forecast connects the data of your store in the past with future targets. In there, it should map the net revenue, ad spend, new customers, CAC, AOV, CM3, inventory, fixed costs, and so on and so forth. And so the forecast shows what the business can afford. And it shows how many new customers are needed, how much inventory has to be bought, when is the cash going out, when is the cash coming back, your cash cycle. Shows whether the growth plan you have is financially realistic or if it's unrealistic. And this is where most brand owners get completely trapped. Because as your revenue grows, obviously your inventory requirements grow, your marketing spend grows. But then you stop and look around and your cash gets tied up before you see some profitability in your bank account. And so this is the reason most brands scale in revenue, but you still feel broke because you have no numbers on your bank account. And that happens when cash conversion, inventory, contribution are ignored. But this is where forecasting comes into play, because this completely prevents these budget decisions that are completely emotional. When you do forecasting, you can see when to push, hold, liquidate inventory, and in general it's clear when you plan something, it's usually easier. And so profitability is easier to manage when you have the next 3, 6, 12, 24 months model. And this doesn't mean that this will come true 100%, but it means that you have a plan you can stick to. And this is where you can plan with your cash flow as well. So when do you actually get cash back? Also, sometimes most stores don't optimize on profitability for the first order. They actually go break even or take a slight loss because they invest in the second and third and fourth order of the customer. And so the general rule, this this is very general and just a rough sketch, right? Ad spend money goes out, inventory money goes out, and fixed costs money goes out. And this is the investment phase where you cash out. Then your sales grow, you get revenue in, and hopefully your profit grows as well. And you have to really match these cycles so that you have the best possible cash flow for your store. Now that we have talked about all these things, the last piece is turning all of these numbers into a simple operating loop, so every week you know exactly what you have to fix. And I structured it in this video as the profitability operating loop. And so this is the loop I made based off this video. First of all, you check your current status quo, you check your cash flow, and then you diagnose the metrics based on the cash flow. And if you have problems in your metrics, you have to fix them somehow. Maybe you have to raise your AOV, maybe you have to try to negotiate better cost of goods with your manufacturer, or maybe you have to reduce returns, right? There are so many metrics to take a look at your store and analyze to know exactly what you have to do. After you diagnose the metrics, you have to find your bottleneck. This could be, for example, retention. Maybe your customers only stay for the first or second order. How can we improve retention? Suddenly email marketing comes into play. Suddenly creating a Facebook group comes into play. Or suddenly you write thank you gift cards and add them to the order with 10% off on the next order. And then after you found your bottlenecks, you assign action. Either you do it, or if you have employees, you assign it to them. Maybe push the spend for the more profitable product instead of the other ones which just get a fancy return on ad spend. It's very individual for each store, right? And then as in every loop, you do this action and then you wait for the data to come back. And this is where you measure. So after you took this action, you take a look, did it move the needle? Did it make a difference in my store or not? Did I get more profitable, or did I create a more unprofitable campaign than last time? And so based on that, you, for example, improved your creative, or you improved your offer, you got better results. And now with this data, you check your cash flow. And from checking your cash flow, you go again into diagnosing the metrics, and then you have this whole profitability loop. And so the number one rule is that every metric has to be looked at. I'm going to show you again the hierarchy of metrics because this is very important. First, you focus on the cash flow, business metrics, customer metrics, and then the channel metrics. And so this is it with the video. Remember that cash flow is the North Star, and CM3 is the closest marketing operating metric to cash flow. And so if you're a 6 to 7 figure Shopify store looking to scale to 7 or 8 figures in 2026, click the first link in the description and book a call with me. It won't be a sales rep, it will literally be me in the call. We'll talk one-on-one, book the free call. Worst case is you go out with a tailored growth plan for your store, and best case scenario is you work together and hit these 7 to 8 figure goals you had in mind. So I'm looking forward to see you on the call. If not, it's a bye for now, but I will see you in my next video.